And I said, what if you make your journey off of the beauty way path to the left or to the right? And he got very upset with me. And then they cautioned me about the time when our Dene would begin to lose wisdom. Yo hoyanto is what they would call it, is the time when wisdom is lost. And it was understood that there are wisdom that can be obtained from father and there's wisdom that can be obtained from mother. And so there are the two types of wisdom. And it's very important to understand that there are those differences. Ahada hatsendani tego ndari kisent kenoti. Hujiyano elahe. Dan hitseninde. De nette tego hujiyano. De peppa hujiyano le. Hatsen ba hujiyano le. Ahudo atta ahuliane hotat neta. Atta ahulian negi shine ya dikata. Lago hanne betatit e. Ntake se et ya di hojustendole. Akut egot ja he hujiyano le. Dan hisdini de shinto the dust anakoshi benkista huignet ole. Among our people, there are a great many different ways that we are taught the things that we are to know when we are making our life. And of course, one of the main things that they always reminded us is that hujiyando means that you must be wise in the way that you live your life. A lot of times our own people understand it as to be smart in the way that you make your life. Hujiyando. But Hujiyando has a lot more teachings involved. When you take care of the sheep, you are doing the thinking and you are using wisdom to care for the sheep. And when you take care of your family, is you are doing the thinking for your family using wisdom. And my learning of this particular subject, of course, took place when I was very young, probably maybe 10 years old. And I was at a ceremony, taking part in the ceremony. And of course, back in those days when we have the ceremony, we have the women on the one side and then all of the men are sitting on the opposite side. And that's the way that the ceremonies are set up. All the women are over to the north and all the men are to the south. Now for that particular ceremony. But in many cases, the Hogan living is set in that same particular way. All of the men's belongings are at the doorway as you come in to your left, and all of the women's belongings and that are to the north. So all of the cooking material is usually on as you enter the Hogan is to your right. But in the ceremonial setting, that's the same way that the ceremony is set up. All the women are to the north and all the men are to the south. And so now and then they take a break. And during that time, they discuss various things. And they were talking about this business of Hujiyang, or journeying the beauty way path. It takes a lot of care and a lot of wisdom to maintain your journey on the beauty way path. And so as I was listening to the discussion, I had a question. I said, what if you make your journey off of the beauty way path to the left or to the right? And he got very upset with me. And so it was the women were concerned that I would even ask that question, and the men said, let's take a moment here and answer this young man's question. And so it was that I was informed about the business of having wisdom. And of course, having wisdom is very important, which is what they call it. And then they cautioned me about the time when our Dene would begin to lose wisdom. Yo hoyanto is what they would call it. Yo hoyanto is the time when wisdom is lost. And we begin as a Dene, our people will begin to seek their own path. And they will begin to do things that are contrary to the teachings of our Dene. And also I was informed about the business of wisdom. Ata ahulia is the word. A lot of times people think it means take care of yourself. But it means use wisdom to make your life. Ata honeya And so the idea of having wisdom as a man, we had to understand there is two types of wisdom. There is male wisdom, ahoya baka, ahoya ba'ad, which means there is male wisdom, there is female wisdom. And so it was necessary for us as we grew up that women have different wisdom and that men have different wisdom. And so sometimes you might ask a question to your mother and she will refer you to your father. Go ask your father. And if you ask your father something that he can't explain, he'll say, and it was understood that there are wisdom that can be obtained from father and there is wisdom that can be obtained from mother. And so there are the two types of wisdom. And it's very important to understand that there are those differences. And it is that the wisdom of the men may be more of a physical nature, and the wisdom of the women may be more of an emotional type of wisdom. And so it is that there are the differences. And so to journey the Beauty Way path, I was told that you must do everything you can to gain greater awareness of wisdom. And the only way that you can acquire that, of course, is to follow the instructions of the holy people and to learn the teachings of the holy people. All of the information that we need to make our life is given to us by the holy people. And if we ignore the things of wisdom or acquiring wisdom, then we can destroy ourselves. Wisdom is the thing that makes us grow in greater awareness spiritually. And as we are taught and told that any sickness that we bring upon ourselves, whether it be in the mind or in the heart or in the physical self or in the spiritual self, is when we ignore wisdom. And then we get ourselves into situations where we harm ourselves mentally, we harm ourselves emotionally, we harm ourselves physically, and we harm ourselves spiritually. When we ignore the idea that spiritual wisdom is so very important, that keeps us in balance with the ways that things are in this world around us, is that wisdom is so very important to us as an individual being, that any sickness we cause upon ourselves is because we ignore the spiritual wisdom in that we must have. And so it is very necessary to understand that there is wisdom that can be gained in our thinking, in our mind, and wisdom that can be gained in the heart and in the feelings, and the wisdom that we can gain in our physical being as far as our habits, our appetites, our passions, and those things. But also the most important part is the gaining of wisdom in the spirit. Spiritual wisdom is so very important. And there's this thing that we can probably call conscience. Conscience is something that we are given as all the five-fingered being of the world, is that we are born with that conscience. But with that conscience, it eventually is supposed to evolve into understanding there is right and there is wrong. And some of us are able to grow that conscience, to build on it, to make us more aware of the things that are right and the things that are wrong. And it's something you build, and it becomes a part of your character, is a being that understands things as far as applying the conscience. And the conscience is eventually something that can grow into becoming wisdom. And so it is in our growth as we journey through this life and trying to gain joy, happiness, confidence, and peace, that we don't forget that we have to have courage. We have to have the courage, and that's so very necessary in doing the right things and to using wisdom and good judgment. And then, of course, we have to have reasoning to be able to reason things out in their proper order. And that is the other thing, is that we cannot ignore that everything in this life does not happen by chance. there is order in everything. There is order in the universe. There is order in the way that things are done in this life. And to gain wisdom, there is order. And it must be that we make that effort to take care of ourselves. Is that we must use wisdom in all the things that we do, and we acquire that wisdom by making our conscience grow and develop in a spiritual way. And it is that there are other ways in that, other paths in that I was told about that would be destructive to me if I did not choose to remain on the beauty way path. That if I ventured off to either side in any direction, that would lead me away from gaining the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom that is so necessary to make our journey back to the holy people. And so those are the things that we are told.
Hey, thanks for watching our videos. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. Also, head over to our website, NavajoTraditionalTeachings.com. Sign up for our email list. Okay.